Hello and welcome to Copytraders Club, where you can learn how to make more money copy trading. I'm Gavin Macaulay, my name and username on eToro. Coming hot on the heels of 2 conversation episodes, one with a popular investor and one with a copy trader, this is a solo episode considering what we've learned so far. And I transport you back in time to my school days, where perhaps the seeds of Copytraders Club were sown. Here we go. Episode 14, and as usual, I present this episode in 3 parts. Part 1, there are many ways to eat an orange. Part 2, portfolio update. And Part 3, copying the smartest kids in class. So Part 1, there are many ways to eat an orange. In the intro, I always say that Copytraders Club is a place where you can learn how to make more money copy trading. And that is true. If we can establish some basic principles of what works and what doesn't work, these can help us add to the bottom line in our eToro accounts. So what have we learned so far? Well, we've learned there are a number of ways to eat an orange. So what appear to be sensible copy trading strategies? One is that, there's more consensus than I expected that my approach is a good one. Having a limited number of PIs diversified among asset classes. Not necessarily sheer biomass. Another approach is to have a higher number of PIs, somewhere between 7 and 15, which might suit the likes of Andrew Haddon and Brian G. a bit more. In this approach, you pick a bunch of high-profile, proven PIs who don't need much managing and let them do their thing. Trust that they each are doing enough diversifying among asset classes and markets, etc., so you don't have to worry about that. A third approach could be described as the logic fool strategy, which is if you, as an investor, as a copy trader, have a couple of decades of runway and will be dollar cost averaging in over that time, then you shouldn't fear volatility. Volatility being the price you pay for performance over time. Diversification isn't a priority for you. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. So it all depends on who you are and what your objectives are from your eToro account. That should be step 1. There might even be room for a questionnaire upon sign up asking you things like, how long is your investing runway? Do you intend to make regular deposits? What is your ultimate objective for your eToro account? Followed by some guidance as to what that all means. That can paint a picture for you about what kind of copy trader that makes you, and therefore some principles such a copy trader ought to be guided by. That info could even be saved somewhere in your profile as a reference to be consulted anytime the copy trader needs to be reminded of what their game plan is. What else have we learned? Well, we've also learned what not to do. The number one thing that we keep hearing on the podcast is that it's not a good idea to jump around in a short space of time. You have to give any PI time to do their thing. Hopping in and out is a surefire way to guarantee poor performance. Also, if you combine the short-term approach of hopping around with a lack of due diligence, you can find yourself hopping into a PI only to then discover something that almost ensures you need to hop out again. An example of this would be you find out they're about to add significant funds immediately after you copied them, and you can't afford to. Connected to that point is how the copy trader needs to learn to live with a bit of red. A bit of red during a month means nothing. A bit of red at the end of a month means nothing. If a full year is looking like a red, then it's natural to question the wisdom of inertia. But even the best copy traders can have bad years. Just look at J Nemesis in 2018. He lost over half. Imagine you had been copying him then. Would you have stuck by him? No one can argue he's not a good investment. Living with red is an important part of the game. If you can't handle doing nothing, when you see a little red, you're going to be seeing a lot more red than you wish. Of course, as time goes on in this show, we will learn more and more about these different approaches and what works for whom. But already some themes are starting to emerge, so that's encouraging. By the way, a listener and copy trader by the name of Joe Mooney got in touch with me and suggested a Discord group to support the podcast. This can be a place for discussions on various matters, as well as being a place to interact more with the show, as in discuss things that came up in recent episodes, as well as contribute to upcoming episodes with, for example, specific questions for PIs. So thanks to Joe, we now have a Copytraders Club Discord, link in the show notes. Both Joe and I are admins and will be participating there. Initial channels within the Discord include upcoming shows, Copytraders Club episodes, PI chat, diversification, risk score, technical issues, and other eToro chat. Everyone is welcome. Coming up in part 2, portfolio update. Part 2, portfolio update. So the month of April ended with a bit of a whimper and a small gain in the end of 1.22, which is fine. The year-to-date return statistic of almost 31% is amazing. I did double my bank in March and would need Andrew Haddon to sit me down and explain what it all means. I think it means I diluted my March return figure, but then in April, normal service is resumed, particularly since Samosa King entered into a lot of new positions on the 1st of April. Speaking of Samosa King, his copiers are dropping off a little, as I remember him saying he expected to happen, at the time when they shot up so suddenly to over 1,000, following his GameStop-fueled January. All these poor copy traders FOMOing into him, only to see January, followed by a February, March and April that leaves them in the red, so they stop the copy and run off to find the next big recent numbers guy. Isn't that just a silly, desperate, illogical approach? These same people will then probably scream loudly online that copy trading doesn't work and it's a flawed system. Yeah, the way you approached it, it certainly was. Obviously, no approach guarantees success, of course, but that one pretty much guarantees failure. Robert Merck continues to impress, racking up his 4th positive month with 2.44 in April, taking him to 25% year to date. His copier trajectory keeps going up. He and Samosa King breached the 1,000 copier mark round about the same time, and while Samosa King's copier numbers have dropped to, at the time of recording, 765, Robert's have continued to climb, and he now sits at 1,887. Roberts are pushing higher all the time. And Roberts at a 25% year-to-date return, while Samosa King is at a 87.5% year-to-date return. Yet, because of recent results, Robert is rising and Karan is dropping. It's a funny old game. Interestingly, Robert is going bigger into Bitcoin at a time when I've been wondering if I really should have some more crypto exposure. He's increasing his position, not entirely as a long-term buy and hold. He sees it as an opportunity to buy and then sell part again within 2021 and create alpha, as he likes to say. Several years ago, I and some guys from work were discussing buying some crypto. I believe Bitcoin was about 8,000 then. We all decided to do it, but I ran into some troubles transferring the cash and then ultimately wimped out. As it turned out, the exchange they were using and holding their crypto in appears to have gone bust, and no one seems to know if their crypto has disappeared or not, so I may have dodged a bullet there. I was considering one of the crypto copy portfolios, but that's an all or nothing deal. You're either in it or you're out of it. You can't sell part of your holdings. So perhaps I just need to start buying into Bitcoin and Ethereum, I suppose, when the prices are more favourable. Next time there's a decent drop, if that ever happens. Elite Vol had a strong April, with 4.60 to add to his previous 2 very good months, so he is going great guns. If recent good performance is what copiers want, then he's definitely worth a look, since he is outperforming most in the past few months. Trade Better had essentially a flat month in April, but unfortunately the ink is red on a 0.02 April result, and my copy of him remains in the red, with now a majority of the 5 months being crimson and only 2 in the clover. If that sort of thing is important to you. He is up 9.64 year to date, to be fair, at the time of recording. But I'm sure he isn't thrilled about his recent month's performance and must be pretty annoyed about my timing of copying him, since all I do is reference being in the red with him. But that is the situation. Coming up in part 3, copying the smartest kids in class. Hope you're enjoying today's show. I'm sure you've subscribed already. If you are a successful copy trader, happy to share what you've learned, there's no need to have a public profile. Get in touch. The bigger the club, the better for you. So tell people on eToro about this show. Ask your PIs to come on. That way you will get to know them better. We build this club together. Part 3, copying the smartest kids in class. Tom West has made a comeback video, he of Social Trading Vlog on YouTube. He looks well and is his usual positive and charming self. He gives a little more detail on the illness that has kept him from making videos for the past 4 months. Apparently, he has had some as yet unidentified illness that meant he could barely breathe, couldn't walk. But he appears to be fine now, and we wish him all the best. I would love to have him on as a guest, as he is every copy trader's favourite primary school teacher. He helped us all with the basics in those scary early days on eToro. In his comeback video, he mentioned how we are, quote, copying the smartest kids in the class. That made me think of my English literature A-level experience. A story which is full of references to the old days. I was struggling to get good grades in English A-level. The teacher, who didn't like me one little bit, kept giving me D's for homework essays, and it became clear to me that I was in trouble. I liked literature, but hated studying books, plays and poetry. It sucked the joy right out of it for me. And I was staring down the barrel of a bad result, which could upset my plans for university and escape. So I needed a strategy. I had to find a way to work the system, since I wasn't going to make it the standard way. So I looked at the last 5 or so past papers and worked out what questions I would ask if I was creating the exam. There were 6 questions in total. I looked at the patterns of what had and hadn't been asked before and how recently, and I settled on 6. The best I could do was prepare to answer these 6 questions, 3 on one test, 3 on another. So I went to the smartest kid in the class, Dominic. I told Dominic I thought I was in trouble and asked if he would help. Would he lend me some of his work so I could learn from him? I asked for a specific essay. I would give it back to him the next day. We got on pretty well, and he said yes. So I did that 6 times over. I requested 6 specific essays, as close as possible to the 6 questions, took them home and copied them out by hand. Then I learned every word he had written, in order, line by line, paragraph by paragraph. I recorded them into cassette tapes and played them back incessantly, night after night, as I stared out my bedroom window at the slate-grey Victorian skies of Belfast. As the exam days neared, I could recite them to the bathroom mirror from start to finish. Then the test days arrived. My heart rate as I flipped over the page to scan the questions must have been insane. Quickly, though, in each of the 2 exams, it became clear that the questions were very close to what I had foreseen. Now my only challenge was to channel these words from my brain to the pen, one word after the other, like a religious chant pouring out of me and onto the page. What I was writing was, of course, far superior to anything I could have come up with myself on the day. They were not my words, they were Dominic's. I am sure what he was writing on the day was not anything like as close to his own high-scoring essays as my nervy test day scribblings were. But I was not cheating. I was sitting at my desk, far away from Dominic's, answering questions from the information in my brain, same as everyone else in the room. When the results finally came out, there were some surprises. There were no A grades in our class. A few Bs, including Dominic, but also, inexplicably to the teacher, me. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see her face when she scanned the class results. I picture her rubbing the B with her finger or blinking to refocus to check if it was in fact a D beside my name. How she must have really questioned her own judgment. I do hope it really bothered her for some time. So I came joint top, got the results I needed, and tripped off merrily to university in England. Did I deserve it? That is arguable. Did I cheat? No. I like to think I found a way to use my brain to resolve a difficult problem, and isn't that the ultimate aim of education? So perhaps copy trading appeals to me in a deep way that dates back multiple decades, to a formative experience in my life. Back then, I learned you can achieve success by applying whatever intelligence you have to harnessing the abilities of others. And I think we can do that again on eToro. That's all from me for this episode. Coming up in the next one is a chit-chat with a Hungarian PI who thinks outside the box. He has a unique writing style and is keen to be as open as possible with his copiers, even to the point of addressing and explaining his missteps.
In eToro, a total stranger comes, sees a few of my posts, sees my results, and decides to chuck 5 grand, 10 grand, 2 grand on me as a complete stranger. So not being honest with these people who decide to take this risk with me would be, for me, it would be absolutely unacceptable.
Lots of laughs in this episode. Thanks for listening. Until next time we meet at Copytraders Club, I wish you many happy returns. Obviously, anything you hear in this podcast is for entertainment only, not financial advice. Do your own research. This is just generic chit-chat. We don't know your individual circumstances, etc., and so forth.